Okay, for this assignment, you'll need to be able to find your homework scores, the homework percent, quizzes percent, your checkup scores, midterm, and then we're going to calculate different grades based on what you might get on the final. So first, we need to go into Canvas and find your homework scores. Go to Grades. If you scroll down to the bottom, you will have averages for your homework and for quizzes. For the checkups, you'll need to find each of your two checkup scores for checkup 1 and checkup 2. And then got the midterm, and then we will take a guess at the final. So for my scores, I'm going to put in 95 for the homework, 90 for the quizzes, checkup 1, midterm, checkup 2. So after you put in your homework and quizzes and checkups and midterm scores, enter a score that you predict you'll earn on the final exam. I'm going to predict a 90 based on my other scores. Next thing, before we can figure out the overall percent, we need to know what each homework category counts for, like homework, quizzes, checkup, what percent of the grade does that count for? For that, you go out to the syllabus, which is in the syllabus and information. Note that the 4 lowest homework scores and 4 lowest quiz scores are dropped, but this is what we need. Homework is 7.5%, quizzes 7.5%, checkups combined 15%, which makes 7.5% each. Let's fill that in. So homework was 7.5%, quizzes 7.5%, checkup 1, midterm 25%, 7.5% for checkup 2. Final exam, 45%. Oh, mistyped that. There we go. Adds up to 100%. Create named ranges for these. So for a named range, I want this value to be given a name, and I'm going to name it homework. One way to do that is to go to the named range box, and with this cell selected, in the box, type in the name, homework, and hit enter. And now there's a drop-down menu with that homework name in it, and anywhere you're at, if you go up to here and hit homework, it sends you back to that box. Well, I want to do quizzes, checkup 1, midterm, so on. Faster way to do it is to highlight both columns, then go to the formulas tab, create from selection. We're going to create a group of named ranges all at once, using the left column as the names, and then the right column will be the values. Hit OK. And now in your drop-down menu, you've got all of those. And notice that Excel will format them. You can't have spaces in the name, and it automatically puts in the underscores. So calculate the overall percent. In the overall percent cell, it will be take your homework multiplied by 7.5%. plus your quizzes multiplied by 7.5%, checkup times, get your checkup 1 weighting factor, plus midterm times 25%, plus checkup 2 times 7.5%, and lastly the final exam times 45%. So these scores average out to 89.4%. Now we want to know what letter grade that would correspond to. That's back to the syllabus. E goes from 0 to 49.99. So the lowest grade for a D is at 50, C minus at 65, and so on. Let's get that filled in. And now we can use a lookup function, and this should actually be lowercase. You can use one of the lookup functions. I like to use XLOOKUP. You can also use VLOOKUP. I'll demonstrate each of them. I'm going to do XLOOKUP first. So in course grade equals XLOOKUP, lookup value, lookup 89.4, then a comma. Look for it in this list of grading percentages and lock that reference in place. So put the dollar signs in there, then a comma. Return from the letter grades and lock that also. Comma. We're now on if not found. We can skip that. Match mode. You're not going to find 89.4. So over here, that would be 89.4 should correspond to the 87. So look for an exact match or go to the next smaller item, and that's coded with a -1. So type a -1 and then a comma. The search mode we can just skip. So closing parenthesis. And an 89.4 correctly corresponds to a B+. Okay, let's do it again with a VLOOKUP. For a VLOOKUP, you want to look up the value of 89.4, then put a comma. Now we need to give the entire table array. So starting with the percentages and include the letter grades both and lock that in place. Then column index number, this is what you want returned. We want to return column 2, the second column. And last is the match, the range lookup. True would be an approximate match. We want an approximate match because an exact match would be looking for 89.4 and there is no 89.4. So if I put true, then when it looks for the 89.4, VLOOKUP will always default to the next lower item. And then I get back to the B+. Copy all of those cells and paste into the next line. We're going to use the second row to do a goal seek. Use a goal seek, find the score on the final that would be necessary, the lowest score you could get to get a C- in the class. So a C- would be 65%. So we want to do a goal search on this overall percent. We'll go to data, what if, goal seek. Set the overall score cell to a value of 65%. However, the way that Excel works, as it does a goal seek, it might find 64.999, and that would actually go down to a D. So we want to make sure that it will go to a C-. So I'm going to put in 65.1%, just so that I make sure that when Excel finds that goal, it's certain to be in the C- range. And I'm going to do that by changing the only score left, which is the final exam. Hit OK. So with the scores that are in place, a 36.1% on the final is enough to guarantee a C-. And now that it's turned in, so it needs to have a C- in this spot to get full credit. But now that you know how it works, let's do it again. To get an A-, so I'm going to do a what if goal seek. Set that cell to a value of 90.1% by changing the final exam. So for an A-, the score on the final would have to be 91.7. And for an A, let's try it again. Set the cell to a value of 93.1% by changing the score on the final. So 98.3 to get an A. But again, don't do this until you've already graded it, because the grader will be looking for a C- in that field.